Oh my, it's Audiosphere 6 from the Red Planet. What shall I do? What shall I do?
Spock! I thought I told you not to let another Masco amp onto the shuttle bay. I get up this morning, cup of Tranya, getting ready to do my D-Lab duties, and what do I see? A Masco Audiosphere amp. And the guy wants it to sound like a Fender Tweed. Who am I dealing with here? I thought you were a Vulcan. Alright, yep, we have another Masco in the shop for repair. About 3 years ago, I did a feature on a Masco 8. This is the Audiosphere 6. So the 8 ran 6L6s, I believe. This one has the typical 5Y3, 6V6, 12AX7, just like you'd see in a Fender Champ. The guy is a harp player, and he's requested that I make it sound like a Tweed machine. Let's see what we can do. Alright, let's look it over. See, we had a little splice job on the power cord. Don't know if the tube's original or not. Power transformer, output transformer, crusty filter cap. That's obviously going to go. Controls appear to be volume and tone. On the side, you would have your mic input or funnel input, and then the speaker outs are on this octal connector. On the last one I did, I replaced this with a speaker jack, and there's a switch for 4 8 ohms. Put in a standard audio input jack, which is what we're going to do on this one. Underneath, not a whole lot going on. You can see these blue caps kind of blistered at the end. So the amp will definitely need a recapping. But to start, I'm going to bring this amp up on a Variac, make sure it lights up, make sure our power supplies are okay before I continue with the update. Well, here we go. I got a Variac. I'm going to bring up the amp slowly. Got a little test speaker there with some clippity-doo-dah leads so we can simply hear if there's any audio. I'm watching the current meter on the Variac as I'm powering it up. So far so good. I'm up around 90 volts. Oh yeah, I'm hearing her. So, we have audio. That means that we have high voltage, filaments are good, all that good stuff. The last thing you ever want to do, if you have an amp, especially in this condition, is to just plug it in the wall. Especially if there's no fuse. Or if you haven't checked the value of the fuse that's in it. You could destroy your power transformer. So we're good to go. So to start the process, I'm going to remove old Splicerino power cord here. And we'll install a new filter cap, change out those other electrolytics, check the tubes, and we'll see how she plays. Then I'll readjust the power supply for the 5F1 sound, and of course we're going to be adding an input jack and a speaker jack. Should be fun. Okay, one thing to note, we're not going to have to worry about the original schematic of this amp since it's going to be rewired to be closer to a Fender Tweed amp. I'm going to follow the Fender schematic. So I'm going to get in here and remove the filter cap. I'm not saving any of these components. So we're pretty much going to just clip them out and start over. Okay, filter cap's wired up, and I've cleared out the preamp section, landed a terminal board. We're going to start wiring that up. Alright, wiring is complete. We're ready to power up and test. Everything looks good, nice and simple. Should be a great harp amp. Let's see. Alright, since I did not have his microphone here, I had to give this my best guess. So the amp is fired up. I'm monitoring the bias voltage across the 470 ohm resistor. There's full volume. Let's hook up my microphone and harmonica and see what it sounds like. Alright, I got my Harp blaster mic, and this is my dad's old Echo harmonica. I'm sure this thing's pretty old. So we're going to test the amp now. Keep in mind I'm not a harmonica player, but I know enough to generate some tones to see what it sounds like. So there she is. I'm talking through the amp right now. This is my treble, and then we go back to bass. 1 2 1 2. You can hear what it does. It's to my voice. Sorry about the feedback. The speaker's sitting right over there. So if I were to use the harmonica, you can see she's nice and clean. That's about 3/4 volume. Here's my treble. Sorry about the feedback. It just shows you the tone quality of the amp. I did not use any of the caps on the preamp section. So pins 3 and 8 do not have 22 microfarad caps like you'd see on a guitar amp, because this is not a guitar amp. We want to hear just the tone quality of the microphone uncolored. And we don't want excessive gain. From what I'm seeing, this thing is working really nice. I think the customer is going to be pretty happy with it. So I need to send him a demo, and we'll go from there. Alright, next step, I need to remove the 6-pin socket and the RCA jack. I'm going to convert this to a switch to select between the 4 and 8 ohms and put a 1/4 inch jack here so he can hook up his speaker. Alright, mission complete. I've got the jacks installed so the mic is still the mic. We have a switch now for 8 or 4 ohm speaker, and this is the speaker output jack. Okay, we're going to throw some instrumentation on the Masco. Make sure it doesn't have any underlying problems. So right now I'm monitoring the output on an oscilloscope using the D-Lab Audio Test Center. I'm just going to look, see if we got any horrendous microphonics. There's a little noise on that 12AX7, but look at the 6V6. That's more than likely the troublemaker. So you obviously can't let an amp go out like this, because when people play it there's going to be vibration and you're going to hear that in the speaker. Let's change that 6V6. So I installed a nice tongue sole 6V6. This is the old Savtech that was noisy. You can see our sensitivity is much less. So this was the culprit. Let's put a signal through this thing, see what it looks like on the scope. So I'm going to be using my Leader LAG25 vintage audio generator as the input to the amp. You see the output is a set of banana jacks. However, my probe is B and C. So how do you get from there to there? You use this adapter. And you know what we used to call these adapters in the Air Force? What does it look like? How about the Star Trek Enterprise? So to determine the amplitude of my audio generator for the test, I'm actually going to look at the output of this mic, because I'm really not sure how much amplitude it delivers. So I'm at the 0.1 volt per division on the scope. Hello. Hello. Look at that sine wave. I could almost be the audio source. Okay, so it looks like easily 500 millivolts. Easily. 1 2 1 2 1 2. So let's set it at 500 millivolts and see what the amp does. There we go. I've got about 500 millivolts at 1000 hertz. Let's connect the amp and see what the output looks like. Alright, now we're driving the amp with the audio generator. I'm monitoring the speaker output on the scope through the Audio Test Center. So I've got the scope set at 1 volt per division. We're at the 1000 hertz. You can see the power output up here on the watt meter. Nice and clean. I'm going to go down in frequency. Plenty of power. So I was only about midway on the volume control, so you can see that there's plenty of gain when he hooks up his harmonica microphone. This amp should really work well. All right, the little Masco Audiosphere 6 project is complete. If you have one of these amps and you'd like to perform this modification, I'm going to post a schematic for your reference. If you need a copy of this, I can email you a JPEG. Just send me a message and we'll get her on the way. Hope you enjoyed this fine presentation of Tube Amp Theater. Computer, add note. No more serving of electrolytic ale before shooting Tube Amp Theater. One other thing, computer. Get these tribbles out of my shop.